Brandon Miller put on a show last night. Potential top 5, top 10 pick from Alabama, the freshman. He put up 41 points against South Carolina last night. Alabama beat South Carolina 78-76 in overtime. And really just a lot better game than it should have been. South Carolina hasn't been very good this year, kind of disappointing. But Alabama went into South Carolina, just tough environment, but they ended up pulling out the win. Brandon Miller hit a game winner. In the midst of this controversy with legal disputes and allegations surrounding Brandon Miller, just a really bad situation in Tuscaloosa. But for him to put that aside and have this performance, it's one of the best performances of the year. Really one of the top performances of the year, and it's by a freshman, and this guy he's just so good, man. He's already so good, and for him to do this at a freshman level, he'll get drafted top 10 at least, top 5 maybe, and he's a stud, man. He really is. He can take Alabama all the way. Alabama can really win the whole national championship this year, and that's crazy to say. You wouldn't have thought that beginning of the season. In other news, in the SEC, Kentucky got a much needed win versus Florida at Florida. Kentucky's got 3 quad 1 wins in a row, and they went into Mississippi State and won. They beat Tennessee. They swept Tennessee for the year, which is wild considering the season Tennessee was having and the season Kentucky is having right now. Kentucky swept them, and Kentucky went into Florida and pulled out a really close win, a really great win on the resume and everything. Kentucky's locked in as an NCAA tournament team. In my opinion, there's no getting out of it unless they just fumble the last 3 or 4 games of the season and just go out in the first round of the SEC tournament. But it's got to be a pretty bad fall off. Chris Livingston hadn't had too many double-digit scoring games the whole season, and these past 5 games, he's had 4 of them. It's crazy. He's rebounding at an all-time level. Cason Wallace, Antonio Reeves, C.J. Frederick. Tshiebwe had an amazing game last night, 13 of 14 from the field, I think it was. So just an awesome performance by Kentucky. Hopefully they can build on this. And Kentucky's a scary team in March, especially entering March. They are a scary team. They got it going right now. In the ACC, Virginia been on a pretty rough stretch here lately. They lost to Virginia Tech a couple weeks ago. They ended up beating Louisville by 3. Louisville ended up beating Louisville, one of the worst teams in Division I, and Virginia beat them by 3 points. They should have lost to Duke a couple weeks ago, but the refs didn't do their job. They didn't call the foul on Filipowski for him to go to the free throw line and win the game pretty much for Duke. But they didn't call that, so Virginia escaped there. And then last night they lose to Boston College by 15 points. They put up 48 on a mediocre Boston College team. Boston College won 63-48. Just a rough game for Virginia. They just don't really have a go-to guy. Gardner, Armand Franklin, Kie Clark. They just don't really have a go-to scorer, and I think that's really going to hurt this team come March in the tournament and everything. Obviously, they're so good on the defensive end, but man, they just got to figure out some things on the offensive side. Other games, I'm sure I'm forgetting some. UConn dismantled Providence in the second half last night. A huge matchup in the Big East. Providence came to UConn, and UConn ended up winning 87-69. Andre Jackson was amazing last night. Jordan Hawkins was great from the three-point line. They just had it all last night. When UConn's hot, they're one of the best teams in the nation. Going back to the ACC, I know I'm all over the place in these kind of truck videos, but that's just how it has to be for these videos. But in the ACC, I just did a video yesterday. I'll probably release it today at some point if I can edit it and everything and get it out. I picked Virginia to go to the Sweet 16 over NC State and Duke and Clemson and Pittsburgh. I picked them in Miami coming out of the ACC, and man, I regret that. I really do regret that. One game changed so much for me, and really hasn't been one game. It's just been their stretch. Like I mentioned earlier, the games they've lost and the games they should have lost. It's just been a rough stretch for Virginia. I would have picked, besides Virginia, I would have picked NC State to replace them. Terquavion Smith, man, DJ Burns, Jarkel Joyner had an amazing game last night, 29 points. 2 straight games with 29 points for Jarkel Joyner. And he's not even the best guard on NC State. Terquavion Smith, man, Baby T is what they call him. It's just been amazing for that team. DJ Burns, they call him, I think they call him the refrigerator with ballerina feet or something, ballerina feet. And that team is just so fun. So they have the guards to do it. NC State and Miami would be my picks to come out of the ACC and go to the Sweet 16 if you were to ask me right now. But that video is already going to get edited, so Excuse me for that. In other news, Houston rolled a good Tulane team by 30. I think 89-59, I think it was. We already know Houston's so good, but to beat Tulane by 30, Tulane was second in the conference leading up into last night's game. Tulane was, it was Houston number one, obviously. Tulane was second in the conference, then Memphis was third. And so, yeah, Houston just rolled a really good Tulane team. So, yeah, guys, that is it for me. That's all I got. Just wanted to give you an update on last night's games. It's already been a crazy week in college basketball, and it just gets crazier this weekend. I think we got Indiana and Purdue this weekend, so that will be fun. But I thought Brandon Miller deserved a video in his own right last night, so wanted to get this out here. And so, yeah, if you like the college basketball video, guys, just like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it. I am out.